water. From ancient times, water has been the symbol of life. That's because, in a sense, water is life. And those who keep water clean are guardians of our health. This is the first of a series of 6 instructional videos on effective operation and maintenance of separate and combined sanitary sewer collection systems.
Professional wastewater collection system crews all over the world work hard to protect the environment from water pollution and people from health dangers. They serve the public with effectiveness and efficiency. They're proud to provide service marked by no backups and uninterrupted and odor-free performance.
We're on the battlefront of protecting the environment and the health and safety of the public.
And the way we operate and maintain our wastewater collection systems determines whether we win or lose the battle.
Our job is to help you win that battle by providing know-how and training. For more complete information, you can consult these 2 operator training volumes entitled Operation and Maintenance of Wastewater Collection Systems.
Here's the address and phone number where you can get the manuals and this series of training videos. You'll also find this information on the cover of this video.
From time to time, as we demonstrate various procedures, you'll see a section number at the bottom of the screen like this. For more information, simply turn to that chapter and section in the manual. 2 last things. Number 1, your equipment may vary from what you see on the video, so you should always follow the manufacturer's directions for your equipment. Number 2, our friend Gonzo will pop in and out to demonstrate how not to do it.
Here we go. It's probably just some hair or something. I can get it with, it's the wrong size. You got a bigger one of these on the truck? See, I never used one of these.
Procedures will be demonstrated by real crews and foremen in the field. Most areas are subject to flooding. Severe flooding conditions like these can create serious threats to community welfare. We want to do everything we can in the operation and maintenance of our collection systems to ensure that they don't contribute to the threat of public health.
You know, I get a lot of the heat for this stuff that you find down in here, and I don't know what'd make them think I'm responsible. I mean, that's crazy. I do a good job here, don't I? Come on, you guys, don't I?
Nope.
I mean, so some stuff gets through. You know, I'm...
In every civilization, in every corner of the world, in every place where people live together in communities, there have been systems to deal with waste removal. Of all the rules of community health, sanitation has always been number 1.
That's why your job is so important. Now, the subjects we'll cover in this tape are the importance of wastewater collection systems, flow monitoring, inflow and infiltration, inspection of manholes, smoke testing, and dye testing.
Of course, whenever you pull up on the job site, safety is your main concern.
But because there are many training tapes on safety, this video series will only touch on safety. One thing is for sure. For the safety of your fellow crew members and your own safety, you need to be familiar with your agency's policies and procedures.
Our collection systems must be properly operated and maintained. The tasks we are involved in are inspecting the collection system to identify problems that need correcting, selecting solutions to solve problems, cleaning sewers to prevent stoppages, controlling sources of inflow which may be a cause of overflows, underground repairs and rehabilitation of sewers, and operation and maintenance of lift station and force main. And always, the name of the game is teamwork.
Regardless of which tasks you're performing, you could rely on work performed by other crews, and in turn, they rely on yours. Every task and every crew member is important for a successful O&M program.
A major problem with many collection systems is sanitary sewer overflows, or SSOs.
We don't want the sewer to be overloaded, overflow, run into the homes, into the streets, or into our businesses.
Inflow and infiltration, I&I, can overload our sewers. Inflow comes from roof leaders, cellars, yard drains, around and through the holes and manhole covers that admit stormwaters or surface runoff. Infiltration is the seepage of groundwater into a sewer system, including service connections. Seepage frequently occurs through defective or cracked pipes, pipe joints, connections, or manhole walls. An important part of every operator's job is to be alert for sources of I&I.
Flow monitoring and recording are very important procedures that help us to identify the cause of current problems and to forecast potential or future problems so that we can correct them before problems are created.
Flow monitoring can be used to locate stoppages and to anticipate dry weather overflows.
You should become familiar with the flows in your sewer. This is so that you can tell when there is a change or an increase or decrease.
If these flow patterns change, this is a signal to look for the cause of the change and make sure the change does not cause a problem.
By knowing the characteristics of the flows, you can schedule your work more efficiently. We do this by installing flow meters and monitoring the flow within the sewer.
The meter is installed where there is a straight section of pipe upstream from the meter, and also where high flows downstream will not back up into the meter. The ultrasonic waves are transmitted to the surface of the flow. They are reflected off the water, read by the receiver, and converted to a flow measurement. The meter needs to be inspected regularly to be sure the metering section in the sewer is clean and rags or other debris are not disrupting or interfering with the flow.
We use various sensing devices to measure the depth of flow in the sewer.
This measured depth is converted to a flow reading, which is continuously recorded by the flow recorder. This record is what is reviewed to determine flow patterns.
Because they're part of the collection system, manholes will require the same inspection and attention as the rest of the sewer network.
Before the crew leaves the yard, they discuss the job with their supervisor. They also check out the equipment and the safety of the towing connections. One of the most important tasks is the operation of atmospheric testing equipment.
Before we left the yard, Rick tested our gas detection equipment. Our safety and survival could depend upon this simple task.
The properly operating equipment will detect atmospheric hazards. There are three major types of hazards: depletion or elimination of breathable oxygen, explosive or flammable conditions, and toxic atmospheres. Warning, these hazards could kill you. Review this section in your manual carefully.
We're going to inspect two manholes, this one and the manhole downstream. Since these manholes are in the street, we have safely routed the traffic around our work site before doing anything else.
Remember, traffic routing is essentially sign language. Make sure it's loud and clear. Your State Department of Transportation or State Highway Department may also have a video on routing traffic around a job site. Here is information where you can order safety videos on work area and on confined space entry. Manholes are considered enclosed spaces or confined spaces, and special safety procedures and regulations have been developed for your protection. Refer to the manual for details regarding proper ventilation, ladders, tripods, ropes, buckets, and protective clothing.
Just prior to entry, the foreman should hold a short briefing to explain the work sequence, the safety rules, the hazards, and the procedure to follow in the event of an emergency.
Okay, take attention now.
If you enter a confined space, make sure you carry a 5-minute escape capsule and wear the rescue harness and a hard hat.
You know, you can use one of these things, the high-tech new equipment for your 5-minute time capsule. Heck, I can't even use my ATM card. I prefer the old way. We got our 5-minute time capsule here. You just put this on your head, you can breathe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that if this baby's full. That's what I use for my 5-minute time capsule. Snug it up, snug it up.
Tighter than that, no, you'll be.
God! Get, ow!
You just spin-
Ow!
you hanging down?
Hello, just a second, cough. Hey. You know, I prefer to work alone rather than have guys waiting for you up on the top. I mean, what good are they? I mean, in the old days, we'd just throw a bungee cord on, we hook it to our belt, boing, dive back down, you're pulled back up. I mean, it's not like no one wants to work with me. I don't want you to get that idea. I could get someone out here to help. Help!
No smoking should be permitted inside the manhole or within 10 feet of a confined space. At least one person should remain outside the space while it is occupied. This individual acts as the watch person and maintains communications with the person inside the hole. Anyone in a confined space or enclosed space should get out immediately if the warning alarm on any instrument is activated. Activities like welding, soldering, cutting, heating, grinding, in short, any hot work, should not be permitted if the atmosphere contains a concentration of explosive gases greater than 10% of the lower explosive limit level.
Remember, when you've signed the entry permit for an enclosed or a confined space, you've agreed to follow listed procedures. If you elect not to follow these procedures and an injury or a fatality occurs, you could be held legally responsible if you survive.
The objective of manhole inspection is to determine the proper elevation or grades around the lid to be sure the lid isn't buried, and to examine structural integrity, often indicated by cracks. Another important reason for manhole inspections is to identify sources of I&I so they can be eliminated.
When inspecting manholes, look for cracks, roots, sulfide damage, debris, grease, sand, gravel, leaking or bad joints, or other indications of stoppage or damage.
Here is a list of other items to look for, most of which affect I&I. Potential for ponding on the cover. Regarding the cover, the fit, the distance above or below the grade, and any evidence of inflow. Frame adjustment and seal. Corbel and wall construction and condition. Bench and trough construction, condition, deposition, and evidence of infiltration. Pipe seal condition. Step conditions. Evidence of surcharging. Indication of groundwater level. Verification of pipe flow, direction, size, and type. And the presence of corrosive or dangerous gases.
After you've discovered a manhole that has defects that need correcting, you should inspect that manhole on a more frequent basis. You should also take into consideration the cause of the defect.
Existing manholes should be inspected every 1 to 5 years, and those in areas of heavy vehicle traffic should be inspected more often because settling, wear, and damage is usually greater. New manholes should be carefully inspected before acceptance in the same manner as the rest of the pipe system.
When you are working in a manhole and discover a serious defect, be sure and fill out a work order to have the defect repaired.
You don't have to fill out one of those. See, I use these. What you do is you just get this stick. Hey, Bill, put this on the side of the chimney. And try jiggling the handle, okay? You don't have to use these forms, folks. Use stickies. Don't waste the county's time out here trying to fill in space number 4, equipment number 6. What does BU mean?
Budgetary unit.
Budgetary unit, yeah. Okay, put this one down the tube a little bit, all right? Jiggle the handle. I'm telling you, folks, this is a better way. I've been doing this a while, kid. Listen to me. You'll go places.
We've covered the procedure for working in a confined space and inspection of manholes. It's important to remember, many types of inspection tools are also available. For example, closed-circuit television inspection equipment and lamping.
Lamping is a fast and economic way of checking to see if the sewer line is straight and is in line. All right, he's entering the hole now. They're lowering him down. Once he hits the bottom, he asks for slack, and we'll quit giving him slack on the cable, and he can bend over and lamp the hole for us.
Lamping is using reflected sunlight or a powerful light beam to inspect a sewer between two adjacent manholes.
He's bent over with the mirror between his legs, flashing downstream while the operator up top is flashing the light from the sun onto the mirror so the operator in the hole can see downstream, make sure everything is in line and nothing is obstructing the flow.
The technique is done by me being lower down in the hole, and I bend over and I focus my mirror downstream to check for any obstructions and to be sure the line is free of any debris.
If you can't see the light, the pipe is either out of line or there's an obstruction in the way, and you have to keep close records of this.
Never use lamping as the sole means of acceptance testing of new sewer lines.
Remember, you cannot detect cracks, infiltration, or other pipe problems when lamping.
Still another inspection tool is smoke testing. Let's take a look at that right now.
Smoke testing of wastewater collection systems is used to determine several things. It can detect sources of rain or storm water, street or surface wash water, and in some cases irrigation water. All of these are sources of I&I. For economic reasons, locating inflow sources is generally done by first smoke testing the line in order to define problem areas for further tests or TV inspection.
All right, we just ignited 2 bombs in the line. We'll be taking, and it takes a minute for the smoke to start getting into the lines. He is getting the camera and a clipboard, and as you can see, if you look there, we have a bad leak, smoke coming out of the ground, and this is what we're looking for.
It can determine the location of certain types of illegal connections to a wastewater collection system, including roof leaders, downspouts, yard drains, industrial drains, and some types of cooling tower water drains.
If you look over my shoulder here and see the smoke coming out of the top of the house, this is telling me that I know the smoke is getting through their laterals leading to the street, and it's going through the lines in the house, and there's no leaks there. These are the vent lines for your showers and sinks and your toilets in your house. Smoke testing can also find lost manholes, broken pipes due to settling, and diversion points.
The location of smoke on the ground surface doesn't necessarily reveal where the smoke is escaping underground.
Because of the ground is dry, the smoke can escape. When the rains come, the ground is saturated and your smoke will not escape. This unit is a squirrel cage blower with a gasoline engine and a belt drive. All right, we're taking an inner tube just a regular inner tube from a tire. We set it on the manhole. We use it as a gasket to seal where the blower sits on top. All right.
Stop.
And a smoke testing crew usually contains 3 to 5 people. In our case, it contains 3.
One is in charge. The others are observers and recorders.
Sometimes another person is needed on the upstream manhole in case there's a chance of surcharging and flooding the streets. The reason we use a plug is to isolate either section of the sewer line depending on which one we want to do first. The plugs can either be mechanical or inflatable.
Do you need to sandbag this?
Let me take a look at it. Yeah, go ahead and put a sandbag on the downstream first. The reason we're using a sandbag on this one, since we've moved 1 block over, is that the flow is a little heavier on this side. A plug would back up the sewer too quickly, so go ahead and put a sandbag on the downstream.
Where there are high wastewater flows that prevent safe plugging of a line to be smoke tested, you may use heavy canvas or curtains with weights or sandbags on the bottom to confine the smoke to the section being tested.
All right, now what we're fixing to do is we're fixing to put another set of bombs off. Let me explain a little bit what these bombs are. They're a 3-minute bomb that lets out 35,000 cubic feet of smoke. We usually light 2 at a time. And hey, give me a double here. This is one that's been pre-made. to light off at the same time. Matt, you get that box, I'll show them how it's done. Just take a box of bombs here, and you take 2 of them. Here you go, put them back over there out of the way. And you just, the best way to do it is you line the fuses together. You start on the end and just wrap it. And then the reason you put the tape at the very ends is if you don't, when the 3-stage bombs go off, they've got indentations on them. What it will do, it will burn. It has one there, then there. When this one goes off, it'll burn through this piece of tape. But by the time it gets back down here, it won't go anywhere because your clamp holds them together. You twist your fuses together tightly, and then you take a twist tie that comes with the bombs. And what this does is this is just used for the beginning lighting of the bombs. You wrap it tight. This way, if you only have one lit, it will automatically light the other one because they're so close together. Hook it into a clamp that hangs from a chain on the bottom of our blower for that way they're not left in the manhole. Fire in the hole.
Shake.
At the start of the operation, the smoke blower is located over the manhole.
If you notice, it's a real calm day out. You don't want to smoke test when it's windy because your smoke will dissipate before you have time to get there.
The observers move away from the manhole in the direction of the pipeline being smoked, watching as they go for smoke on either side of the street. One records the source and nature of each incident, and the other photographs it, in this case with a still frame video camera. Where proper building plumbing exists, the crew sees smoke coming from the roof vents of the building drain system.
Illegal connections are easy to find with this smoke testing because you will find it comes out everywhere. Nothing can be hidden from it.
Okay, I think we have an illegal connection somewhere around here, this area here. Guys?
Before moving on to the next house or building, the crew takes a careful look at the foundation of the building, particularly where the house service pipe would usually pass under the foundation footing.
It may seem obvious, but when the vents quit smoking on top of the house, you know the smoke has run out.
Most of the time, they don't need a second bomb, but that's always an option. A 5-minute bomb is usually all that's needed for a city block.
What we do now is after these 2 runs have already been run, sometimes there are no pictures taken if there's no leaks. But since we have taken pictures on this run, we take our digital Photoman camera that goes with the computer. We hook up the tag lead from the computer into the camera. And as you can see here, the pictures from the computer are coming up from the camera. We're set up at manhole 221. What I'll do is I'll have to write all this into the paper from what manhole to manhole I went. Then we enter the footage, the size of pipe, and how many leaks were on each run. And now I'm fixing to clear the photos out of the camera and store them in the computer. And I started adding the runs that I'm doing on the paper into the laptop.
Any location where smoke is showing should be fully described and recorded. Smoke testing of wastewater collection systems has the potential to alarm people in the area. Smoke from the test may enter homes and other buildings through defects in the sewer system. Smoke may be detected through dry traps, defective rings under commodes, vents terminated in an attic, or cleanout plugs missing from sewers. You need adequate preparation, plus good advanced public relations to avoid alarm if workers or residents suddenly see smoke in a building or home.
This lady stepped out of her house. She was a little alarmed because she saw smoke everywhere. Jeff right now is explaining that we are smoke testing the area and not to be alarmed. Often it's a good idea to publish an announcement in the local newspaper. A similar announcement should also be displayed in the area where you will be smoke testing.
Occupants should be requested to run some water into traps and sinks that are not used regularly before the test starts in order to fill the traps that may have dried out.
Whatever you do not fail to thoroughly brief the local fire department and police departments.
All right, so we just wanted to let you know that we might have some smoke in Sector A. Yeah, we're doing some, might be Sector B as well. So Sector A and B could also move into Sector E. I'm not sure, but there's going to be a lot of smoke, nothing to worry about unless some of the grease catches fire. Then that could be real bad. Can you guys just stand by?
Well, we're moving right along. Next, we'll discuss dye testing.
Dye testing is used to establish positively whether facilities or fixtures are connected to a wastewater collection system.
Last night we've got a call for this cavity in the alley, and one of the methods we use for determining if the soil is getting into the sewer main would be to dye test it with the colored dye and water, and we'd check downstream manhole to see if the dye shows up. If it doesn't, that would confirm that the dirt and the soil is actually getting into the sewer main. And also we use dye testing for looking for illegal taps and for infiltration into the mains.
Dyes may also be used to reveal interconnections between sanitary and storm sewers.
To do a dye test, we have a special manufactured dye. It comes in tablet forms. It looks orange, but when you add water to it, it turns to green. And what we do is we crush a few tablets up, and then we'll pour it in a cavity, and then add water to it to do the dye test.
Some buildings may not show smoke at the vents during a smoke test because of dips or traps. These can be dye tested. A dye test is also useful when a yard or storm drain is suspected of being tied to the sewer.
In short, anytime we find inflow or infiltration, dye testing is a good tool.
Other uses of dye testing include estimating the velocity of flow and testing for infiltration and exfiltration. Contact the Water Pollution Control Agency to determine if there are any regulations regarding the use of dyes. These are harmless dyes for testing purposes. Tablets are easier to work with but take longer to dissolve. The other drawback is that they could sink into a sump or wet well and not circulate with the flow. Making them into a powder or starting with powder prevents that from happening. But powder is hard to use under windy conditions, so pre-mixing the dye or wrapping it in tissue paper is recommended.
Now be careful with this dye because if you do spill it, it can stain.
Now, the dye we have here is the two-mercaptoethanol green, which seems to work best. Oh, I've used some of the other colors in the past, but this one's worked. What? What?
Regardless of the type of dye, it will dissolve in the flow. Here's the cavity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dump some of the dye that I've crushed up already. I'll dump it in the cavity. Then what I'll do is I'll go to the truck, bring the hose over, and I'll add some water to it, and we just let the water run. And then we go to the downstream manhole and just wait for the dye to come through. For running water, we're waiting for the dye to come. And I'm using, you can use a flashlight or a mirror. A mirror works a little better with the sunlight because it's a much brighter light, so you can see better. Beginning to see some color now, it's starting to show up faintly, and it'll get pretty dark here in a little bit. Okay, there it is. It's really dark now, so we're getting good color now.
You may need to work on private property. For that purpose, and to maintain good public relations, notify the people of the area and make arrangements for your dye testing program.
We're here to dye test this building because there's a main in the back and then there's a main in the front, and we don't know which main the service goes to, so we're going to dye test the building to determine that. Hi. Hi, I'm here for the dye test.
Hi there. Okay, come on in.
Bathroom's right aside? Okay, thank you. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'll just dump a little bit of dye into the toilet. And we prefer to use a toilet instead of the sink because you get a little more water when you flush than running the sink. It's a little bit faster for the dye testing. I just wait a second, make sure it goes down. Okay, that's sufficient. So the next step we'll do is we'll go out to the front main and out to the back main and just check the mains and find out which the main the dye will show up in. This is a good illustration of several different facilities that we need to do a dye test. Obviously, you'd want to start from the downstream and work your way up so you don't contaminate your previous dye test. And also we have several different other colors of dye we can use to perform the dye test. As you complete your dye test, you want to record your findings.
Well, that's it for now. This has been one of 6 training videos on operation and maintenance of separate and combined sanitary sewer collection systems. Following is information on how to order these tapes and manuals. Thanks for your professional work as a guardian of health. We'll see you next time.